Welcome to the September general membership meeting of the Commercial Real Estate Alliance. If you don't know, today we're going to hear from our two destination marketing organizations, as well as the airport, and we're looking forward to that. Anytime that we get together as a group, I always like to focus everybody back on our mission statement and objectives. This is the reason that we exist, the reason that we get together, and what we're trying to do. So please, as you ask questions or as you act, anytime we come together, just keep these objectives in mind. As always, everything that we do is done on a volunteer basis, and your 2021 officers and directors of CREA are working diligently to put all of this content together, get people in, and provide services that support those objectives that we earlier talked about. And if you're one of our directors, we have Harvey, go ahead and stand up. Just say thank you to them because they put a lot of time and effort in. Also, would be remiss about talking about our sponsors for the year: Berlin Patton, Evelyn, Sable Palm, and Center State at the gold level, Shoemaker and Kendricks, Notice Bank, Atlas Insurance, the silver level, and then bronze sponsors: Gulfside Bank, Lakewood Ranch Commercial, Iberia Bank, soon to be First Horizon, and Achieva Credit Union. Thank you for good. Thank you. They provide funds so that we can bring in some speakers at different times or provide breakfast like you're enjoying the day. So thank you for all that you do to help support that mission as well. Finally, want to talk about our golf tournament. We are filling up fast on our golf tournament. This is October 29th. I've been told you can wear a costume if you want to. Just keep it professional. Looking at you, Eric. But I think there are 7 foursomes still available out of quite a few. So really filling up fast. If you want to participate in the golf tournament, it's always a great time. Lots of giveaways. And we're raising money this year. Barbara, what are we raising money for? It's for the hometown heroes and ability to outfit. No? Heroes welcome home. Heroes welcome home. Which is provides kind of for injured vets or different things like that, the ability to help them with their housing situation. So last year we were able to get them quite a bit of money, and we're looking to beat that this year. So please feel free to participate. We'd love to have you out there. If you're not a golfer, like Dawn in our office, she comes out and helps support volunteering and running the beverage carts around and different things. So there's an opportunity for socialization even if you're not a golfer. Okay, so that leads us into our 3 speakers. I can't say thank you enough. Here, we'll go ahead and start closest to us. I've got Virginia Haley with Visit Sarasota County, and we have so much to cover. I'm not going to read their extensive backgrounds and education and different things, but she's been serving now for 22 years as chair of Visit Sarasota. She's a past chair of Visit Florida and Destinations Florida. As well as on the board of the Tiger Bay Club, et cetera. And she's just a great resource for our community. On the far side of the table, we've got Elliot Falcione. Did I say that correctly?
That's good. That'll work.
Well, he's a native of Pittsburgh. He's been here for 29 years in Bradenton, kind of fulfilling a counterpart to Virginia. I like this. He says he doesn't have much to say about himself, but he always likes to share the thought that having unconditional love for people can only help positively impact your life, which I thought was great. Thank you for that. We're looking forward to hearing. And then we're going to actually kick off today's presentation by Mark Stuckey. He has over 25 years experience in the aviation industry and is currently the Executive Vice President and Chief of Staff at Sarasota-Bradenton International, which most of you know is SRQ. And we are really excited to have all you guys here today, and appreciate you bringing us this great information so that we can utilize it, both push that information back out about the great work that you guys are doing, and also understand it so that as we're interacting with businesses and folks in the community, that we can push that out. So thank you very much.
contrary to have an unconditional love, you guys can eat while he's presenting because it's pretty boring.
Okay, and I'm gonna sit in the middle and keep them apart.
All right, thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I know fall is here, so hopefully you'll be able to get out and enjoy the cold weather, cooler weather this weekend. I've got a pretty big presentation, so I want to, I'll be going through it rather quickly. There's been a lot of changes at the airport. But the question that was asked us when we were putting this meeting together was, what is causing the massive growth of the airlines, the destinations at our airport, and the number of passengers, and what is causing the increase of people visiting our area? I think most of you know the answers to this. Obviously, no, not just the airport. But really, when COVID came, it's really changed a lot of things. People are looking for places they can go and social distance. Where can they go to? They don't want to be in big cities. They want to be in a smaller destinations that aren't large, and they want to be able to enjoy the leisure activities, the outdoor activities. So you can the airlines are kind of like the barometer. You see, they completely shifted their network. They went from these large destinations to mountain destinations and beach destinations. Everything shifted. When I talked with the United Airlines folks, they were telling me they had 9 flights a day between Chicago and New York. And when COVID hit, and for me, and even up till now, it was reduced down to 3 regional jets a day because there was absolutely no business travelers traveling. So everything shifted leisure. Why are they coming here? Well, we've got the best beaches in the world. We've got CREA here in Sarasota. We got Anna Maria Island to the north. We have over 50 miles of beaches between Sarasota and Manatee County. We also have all the sports that are down here. Another great thing that the CBBs do a really good job of bringing the different groups down here. We've got the fishing, obviously, that's a big deal for a lot of people who are into that. We've got all the water sports, whether it's boating, jet skiing, kayaking, paddleboarding, the things that people love. We've got golf courses, lots of golf courses. I know a lot of people, my parents who live north, their friends, they're all coming down, staying in condos, doing the golf courses. We've got great arts and entertainment. Unlike a lot of cities that are our size in the beach destinations, we have primarily going back to the Ringling Brothers and everything that goes with that. We've got all the arts and entertainment, which is the ballet, the opera, orchestra, theaters, and ecotourism. Great hotels, everything from the Ritz-Carlton to the smaller hotels you find in Marriott. So we'll jump into the airport stuff. So that's my take on what's going on, why people are coming to our area.
Wait, what about the brilliant marketing?
Definitely the marketing. We're going to hear about the marketing right after for sure. We have some fantastic marketing that is done by each of the convention business bureaus. So what have we done with our traffic? Well, the airport traffic has grown significantly. We were the fastest growing airport from 2018 to 2019. We had 43% growth, and that's for any airport with at least 500,000 in-plane passengers. In 2020, COVID hit, the traffic dropped. We got down to where we had 45 cars parked in the parking lot. So we took advantage of that time, rebuilt and overlaid the entire short long-term parking lot. We were unsure where things were going to go. But as things started to rebound, airlines started shifting the flights to leisure destinations. We were one of the benefactors of that. And you'll see, even now, we are still the fastest growing airport in the United States. And you can see our number pre-COVID, and then it hit. And now, in the month of July, we had 326,000 passengers. So this just is a little chart that showed you 2019, which was a record-breaking year. We were the fastest growing airport. We had 1.8 million seats into and out of our market. For this year, we have 4.5 million seats into and out of our market. Huge growth. We're going to probably triple in capacity in a very short period of time. This is our checkpoint throughput at the TSA checkpoint. This chart here is hard to see from where you're at, but it shows airports with the largest seat recoveries percentage change from July 21 to July 19. And we are on the far left column with 100 and, can't read it, 60 or so % growth. And then the next closest airport was Myrtle Beach. That was like 66%. So we are definitely leading the pack in recovery. There's still a lot of airports in the Northeast, well, all over the Northeast, Midwest, that are not even close, still doing 40–50% of where traffic they were doing pre-COVID. This is where we were 3.5 years ago. We had 6 airlines and 12 non-stop destinations. And this is where we are today.
Wow.
10 airlines and 50 non-stop destinations. So what's really driven all this growth? A couple of things. One, Allegiant came in March of 2018. And since they've come in and they've added 27 destinations. All of those destinations are still flying today. We have not lost a single destination. We also got Southwest Airlines here in February. Southwest came in and they've added 19 destinations. One of those has dropped off. We have 18 still, already scheduled in the system through April of next year. And they are our largest air carrier already in the short time that they've been here. So this chart here is pretty good. I've worked at the airport since 1993, so I've been there about 28 years. In 1990, that was our peak year. We had 2 million passengers. And what happened was over the last almost 30 years, we've pretty much just stayed stagnant. We haven't had any growth at all. All of our traffic was going to Tampa. People would drive in Tampa or St. Pete, Clearwater, where they needed to go because the fares were cheaper. Our airport costs were more expensive. So we would pass that on to the airlines. The airlines would charge a little bit on the price of the ticket. It was more expensive to go out to Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport. That's completely flip-flopped. Tampa's borrowed $1.5 billion to build trains to their car rental facility and all kinds of stuff. And when COVID hit, they had to keep paying these bills. So now their rates and charges are about double what we are. And we'll get into some slides and see that. But what you're going to find when you start looking at prices and fares for flying out of our local airport, they're going to be the same or cheaper than what you find out of Tampa. You may not always find the convenience. There may be a flight nonstop to L.A. out of Tampa.
You're coming to watch.
There may be better
Oh,
times.
right in there.
On a flight
They're coming here.
Flights, but you're probably going to find the right price.
Why they think they're the fastest
So
growing
some of the
airport
construction projects that we've had
in the country.
due to
The most recovery
we had 90,000 gallons.
You gotta sit at the,
We were tankering in 15,
It's hard for you to sit
10,000
there.
gallon tankers a day just to keep up with all of the traffic we had.
you're not gonna hear it.
We had to triple our fuel storage, which we did. We started on July this year. We added 2 100,000 gallon tanks. And by November, the third one on the right will be installed. So we'll go from 90,000 to 400,000 gallons of fuel. Parking lot, we put a Band-Aid on the parking lot. We added 140 spaces in the back. Just finished that a couple months ago. But as of this morning at 7 a.m., long-term lot is closed. It's completely full. We're having to put people in the shade lot, the overflow lot. This is our slowest month. We have 137,000 outbound seats for the month of September. For December, we're already at 240,000 scheduled outbound seats. And by March of next year, we're at 273. So we are building parking lots as fast as we can. We're working on an overflow lot that we're paving right now. And then we're taking over an old A.A.E lot. We're putting 436 spaces in there. And we're also building another lot further away.
You didn't double pay.
Ramp extensions, parking of aircraft is important. We're at the point now where we have 13 gates and they're all full during peak times.
13 gates are awful.
During peak season, we're going to have 13, at minimum of 13 aircraft parked at the gates, and then we're going to be parking aircraft in these overflow spaces. So it's just trying to find space for aircraft parking, for vehicle parking, scheduling software we use, slot airlines into different gates because we have so many different carriers operating. So a few things we have in the design process right now is
So excited for tomorrow. We have to be at Marina.
We added in April, we added an additional lane from 4 to 5
Marine
lanes.
Max by 10.
We're currently in the process of adding 6 lanes that will have.
Next to Salty Dog.
Ground transportation area is going to be added. That'll be embedded. We would lift off the front curve and put them over here off the end. We're doing a consolidated rental car facility where we'll It'll be one facility that all.
He wants us to bring lunch, our own lunches.
Store their vehicles.
What?
He wants us to bring our own lunches,
Land for us to have more parking lots.
cocktails.
Terminal build out, we need more concessions.
You get that.
Bring our board on Monday, a proposal to add a Jimmy John's out on the concourse. We just opened a Dunkin' Donuts last week out on the concourse. And we want to put a full service restaurant. So we're working with some different restaurants in the local area to see if they can add that service out at our airport. Consolidated baggage system, this will just help speed up. This is
About this shit.
It's a $40 million project to move bags quickly out. on
He
the
wants
land.
bringing people to the airport, leisure and relax.
Flights.
Just
And the ground building
lifestyle.
terminal. We are
Green
under
beaches,
design, and
sports,
we're doing
art,
design and
entertainment,
build,
water sports like
projects
kayaking and
to add
paddleboarding. And it has a
and
great
incentives
hotels
to
and perfect weather.
That's why people are coming
So
here.
we
Yeah.
need more gates, 13 is not enough.
So their pricing is getting
Last
better
few
than the
slides
Tampa
here,
airport.
costs and incentives.
What's getting better?
Pricing.
Pricing.
We've had a 6-year declining cost for our airlines. Our landing fee rates are probably one of the lowest in the state, 45 cents per 1,000 pounds. So cost for a big 150 passenger jet to do it per turn, we do it per turn cost. It's about $70. It's really cheap, compared to some of the other airports, and we'll get into that in a second. And then our non-signatory gate use fee per term has dropped from almost $1,400 to a little over $900. So total cost per turn for an airline that comes in here and operates about $1,000 for airport costs, which is very
RSW is
This compares our airport, and I mentioned this earlier with Fort Myers and Tampa. Our terminal rent is $63 a square foot. Fort Myers is $99, and Tampa is $236. Big difference. Landing fees, ours is 45 cents per 1,000 pound gross landed weight. Fort Myers is $2.42, and Tampa is $2.12.
That's amazing,
And the
though,
metric
right?
that the airlines use, which is cost per
Say what those numbers
Well,
are.
whatever it
That's how they
means,
get
they're
the cost they
that's
paid off
their-
at our airport divided by the
Mhm.
number of
divided by
passengers
their
that use our
cost of
airport.
what the airport
Ours
costs.
has dropped from $10.70 this current year, which it is now, starting October 1st, it'll be $4.86. It's a 55% drop. Southwest Fort Myers Airport will
So
drop a little bit.
CPA, I don't know, is down more. I don't know what that is.
To subsidize their budget. It'll drop to $7.31, which is still substantially higher than our number. And Tampa goes from $11.38 to $9.99, which is a drop as well, but still.
Not that
still
low.
more than ours.
That's all right.
So as you can see, we're much more competitive.
You're carrying all your toys apart.
It's gonna, in my opinion, you're gonna see our fares, our prices become either the same as Tampa or cheaper in most cases. And that's gonna make more people fly in our area. We're gonna continue to grow. And the last thing I want to talk about is our fee waivers and marketing. We have a very aggressive program we put in place back when we had no traffic. Any air carrier that adds new service in our airport gets 2 years of free operating costs. So we waive landing fee, gate use fee, terminal use fee. In addition to that, we combine money with both CDBs, and we use that. It's not money that we use to subsidize the carrier. It's money that we designate to promote the local area to people outside of our area and to promote the route of the new flight. And so like if an airline adds a new flight to Grand Rapids, and we're going to spend that money in the Grand Rapids area, letting people know about the golf courses and the beaches and everything that's in this area, to try to get them to use that flight, make sure it's successful. We have probably the best marketing program in the United States. We're able to do that because the CDBs, we have 2 CDBs, which is great. We're on the county lines. We have Bradenton CDB and Sarasota, and we pool our money together. So you'll see, like if Southwest were to add a flight, a nonstop flight that's year-round daily, we tier this. It's $300,000 the first year, $200,000 the second, and $50,000 the third, for them to market that route and destination. And it's been very successful. If you look at Elliot that started in 2018, they had their 2 years of free, and they're still flying every route. We've added Frontier, we've added Sun Country, we've added Southwest Airlines. So we know this works because we're not losing the flights after they come off the incentive program. And like I said, it is definitely the best in the country, and we use that to our advantage.
Who's,
So growth is here to stay. We have long-term signatory agreements with 6 of our airlines. That means if they leave, they've still got to pay us.
Austin, Texas for
They don't
Jana.
want to leave. They don't want to pay if they're not here. We have become more competitive than our neighboring airports now. I will say Punta Gorda and St. Pete Clearwater have figures that are close to ours, but we definitely are having better pricing. And our local population continues to grow at 20,000 plus people every single year. Area combined.
That's the
It's
only
the
one
size
that
of a small city moving here every single year. Well, that's going to continue to keep the growth going. This is just half of the upcoming service. I don't have it all listed
This is
here.
a
Some of these
population
flights
increases
that are starting
20,000 per year.
That's
Yeah,
nothing.
that's all I have. I know we
That's
gotta go
nothing.
for each of us.
20,000 per year. That's huge.
Questions and answers.
Our population is growing at that rate.
20,000 people?
Yeah.
Just for everybody, this
That's
whole
just Sarasota.
presentation that we're kind of flying through is gonna go out on Tuesday from, you'll get the email.
That seems fair to check business investment.
CREA stuff. It'll have a link to this presentation, so you'll be able to download it. That's all right.
Thank you so much. Now we're gonna get
They'll
into
figure out a way to
the
make money
ways
here.
we get the people onto these airplanes and what it looks like for the future. First of all, who's visit Sarasota? Both of us have a little different structure. We're an independent corporation, and we contract with Sarasota County government to do the marketing for this area using tourist development tax, which is collected from visitors staying 6 months or under in any kind of lodging, whether it's a VRBO, a hotel, a campground. The tourist tax was something that the hoteliers got
This is what it got hit for tourist tax.
many years ago, and over the years, they've actually increased the different things you can use it for. And this shows you what we are using it for in Sarasota County. The one in the middle, Aquatic Nature Center, to fit into the law. That's what we have to call the Nathan Benderson Rowing Park that you all know.
Annually.
And you'll see the amount for promotion and sports
$10 million
stadiums
altogether.
vary. That's the amount of money promotion that we have to promote the county. And then the other funds are the changing needs of upkeep of Edson Stadium where the O's play. That was a 20-year-old stadium at the time.
What stadium was it?
And it always
20-year-old
needs
stadium.
Ed Smith?
something major every year. And then the brand new Cool Today Park in Northport. So one of the things we wanted to look at is, what is success? And we really want to look at, what do we want Sarasota County and our efforts to produce? And you see them up on the screen. And that these are very different goals than we've had in the past. Normally, and they're still part of our goals. We're looking at obviously bringing visitors to the destination and making sure they're spending. But this past year, we started to
Bringing people
work
to our
as
destination
Elliot
and making
has,
sure they're
in
spending.
really helping our economic development brethren. We're the ones who brand this community. We're the ones who really know the ins and outs of the marketing. And it only made sense to combine our efforts and our knowledge to be successful. So I'm going to run through a couple slides. We all know it starts with a visit. No one decides to come here and start a business or open a branch or bring a new restaurant into the area before they visit it first. So we know that we are the front porch for Sarasota County. And so one of the things we did, we've always had a relocation page on our website. It was an afterthought because people asked us for relocation packages. Well, we beefed it up with a lot more content, and we started collecting data. What idiots we were that we've had this website and we weren't getting essential data. We were for the visitors, but not from the relocation. Well, that's changed. We're collecting data, and since October last year, every Monday morning, the data we collect goes over to the EDC because a lot of these people are saying, yes, you may contact me. So then the EDC starts to work the lead. So we're sort of the sales funnel for the EDC. And we started looking at different targets working with them, and then working together to put up digital marketing campaigns. So we had display media. We were looking on different platforms on Facebook, through Google, some other different digital platforms, Instagram. These actually worked really, really well for us. And then we did a lot of Google AdWords. They were pretty good too. The other one we started working on was we started investing a lot of money in LinkedIn. It costs a lot more money than these other digital platforms because you're really targeting a very narrow audience. But I think it paid off because last week LinkedIn named our region as I think number 6 in the country for business, for employee relocation. So I think, you know, it's not a gigantic amount of money we spent on this program, but I think because we were doing this before a lot of other people figured out business relocation, employees can work wherever they want. I think we got ahead of the curve on that. Now, why am I spending tourist tax dollars on worker relocation? Because we know the #1 reason why people visit is to visit family and friends. So that person comes down from DC or New York to work, and we've seen it all. You know, you can't get them out of the guest bedroom, you know, finally you're kicking them out to the hotel, which please, everyone do that for us. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is our role, because I think it makes an impact on you. Destination marketing organizations don't just market, because that M can also stand for management. And it can be little things, deciding you need to make it easier for people to understand our circus heritage. So we created a circus heritage trail, to big ones. And this is the one that I feel like I invested half my lifetime in, and that was our board saying, why do we have this beautiful acreage on Sarasota Bay and it's a big ugly parking lot? And why do our cars have the best view of the bay? And so our board allowed me, working with my board chair, Michael Clobber, to basically invest 3 years into doing nothing but establishing a grassroots movement to redevelop the bay. We had, I think it was in 1 year, we had 300 meetings. Basically, if there were 3 people meeting together, we came and spoke to them and developed a vision and a common set of principles for the redevelopment of this park that you now see underway. And we were really intentional in the kinds of ways we reached out to the communities. We've all been in these meetings in Sarasota where it's sort of the same set of people we always see. But in this case, we also did things like had a session at J Dub's Brewery where people got a free beer. Guess what? We got a great, much younger audience. We did a Sunday supper after church in Newtown. So we really had different ways of reaching out to people. Now, why is this important? Because this picture of this amazing round sunset here is going to be one of those things that visitors are sharing with their family and friends about their Sarasota visit. So it's about creating iconic places that's so important for driving the economy. And then I just want to show a couple of slides that we just got from Visit Florida, the state's marketing organizations. A little hard to see. Really looking at some of the Florida's hotel demand change. And if you look at that line that's spiking way up, you see the beginning of the surge where it goes down a little bit, and then we're booming right back up, because I know a lot of people were concerned about that. And if you look at Arrivalist as a company we use, when we send ads out digitally, we can track when someone looked at that ad on their device, and through Arrivalist when that device shows up in Sarasota. So creepy, but it's very, very effective in really understanding are you reaching the right markets at the right time. And again, you see that same thing where you've got the dip in Florida, but we go right back up. You saw a little bit of a drop in concern and some people saying, I'm gonna wait to travel, but that has completely come back. You'll see the intent to travel is the top line, and you saw it dip, but now it's coming back up. And then this one are people, this is really key for us, people who are planning on traveling in the next 6 months. And you'll see again, it reached towards the end, a peak in the 90s, I think, went down. But in the numbers I got for last week, it's right back up to 90. I think that bodes very well for us. I just came back from IPW, which is where the United States sells itself to the world. It was about half the size it normally is. But on Monday, when the White House finally announced that we were opening to international travel on November 1st, we were meeting with some of our major wholesale operators who said when that news broke in Germany at 5, they were overwhelmed with immediate bookings to Sarasota-Bradenton between 5 and midnight. And these are people who aren't, they're coming November 2nd, November 3rd, they're not fooling around. Why does this matter? And this is something as a commercial realtor, I'd be very interested in this. Because while we have broken records in tourism this year with our domestic visitors, they're staying in hotels, they're going out drinking, they're eating, they're having a good time, but they don't shop. I mean, they shop a little bit. Our international visitors stay twice as long, they spend twice as much money, and they shop like fiends. So they just have a better impact on the economy. And so I think looking out into next year, while you see this domestic visitation somewhat flattened, our international is going to be really key for keeping this rolling. So with that, I'll turn it over to Elliot.
Good morning, everybody. As much as I joke around with Mark Stuckey, I was chatting with one of the senior network planners for United Airlines, big airline, and he told me, he said, you know what? He said, Mark Stuckey is one of the only airport executives that know the data that the network planners need to make a confident decision. Think about that. One of the only in the country. So it's really about the talent that we have locally. And then he followed up, and Mark showed it in Virginia, also echoed it, is he said the airport has the best marketing incentive plan you'll find in the country as well. So really, really important. It makes you walk away saying, what airport executives don't know how to do it, you know? So amazing, triple digit increases. It's so impressive. It almost, your eyes are glazed over. Triple digit. We're excited about double digit sometimes. So anyway, we are the Bradenton Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm a department head of Manatee County Government. So why aren't we called the Manatee County Government Convention and Visitors Bureau? Nobody can find it geographically on the map. Simple as that. You won't hear Elliot say, hey, come to Manatee. Because if I said I'm going to Pima County for vacation this weekend, maybe most of you, if not all of you, may not know that it's Tucson, Arizona. So stay away from the counties. Of course, I wish I was Virginia, where it was Bradenton County and Bradenton City. Then it works really, really well. We wear a lot of hats, so we promote the destination for tourism. We also oversee the day-to-day operations of the convention center in Palmetto. I'll talk about the expansion here in a few minutes. Powell Crosley Estate, just across the street from the airport behind the University of South Florida, the Premier Sports Campus. We partnered with the county to buy that off of Sarasota and Manatee, and that generates about $50 million to the local economy. We also act as the arts and culture liaison, and then we're obviously Bradenton area sports and Bradenton area film. What's great is you have all the arteries that you can kind of manage yourself, so it makes it really, really easy. The breakdown of the 5 pennies, we both collect 5 pennies on the dollar. We are capped out statutorily, so that's the max that we can do. But you can see how it's allocated. Yes, we have to pay the tax collector, He's been a really happy dude these days because the money's rolling into his department as well. There's our marketing budget from museums to beach renourishment. 1 penny out of the 5 goes right to beach renourishment, beach maintenance. We never even see it as well. The one thing that will be increased will be the convention center operations. Pittsburgh Pirates start their 54th year in Bradenton next spring. There's a few high-level tidbits. And that's from 2019. So that economic impact after this year is probably going to go 1.5, 1.6 billion. And it's always important that the visitor, you know, when we as residents get selfish and say, gosh, it's going to be peak season, the Canadians are going to drive slow, these people are in our way, they generate sales tax that help enhance the quality of life for the residents that live here. Always remember that, okay? This is I was always taught, and you'll know I'm not the smartest guy you'll meet, but to the left, we relaunched a new brand, and research will tell you, you have 3 seconds to convince a visitor to understand a brand that you're putting in front of them. If they can't figure it out in 3 seconds, you've lost them forever. So real simple, left to right, pretty dysfunctional on the left, pretty clean on the right. And there it is. So look at, we launched that brand in 2010. And look how we were flat from 5 to 10. The brand launched and look at the growth trajectory that we saw. Now, 2018 was red tide, that 2 words, and it was weathered pretty good. It's not about the brand elements. It's also about the diversification of assets as well. When one market goes cold, you have an artery of revenues coming in another market. And then, of course, the unprecedented pent-up demand for 21. We're about, Virginia's probably around the same thing. We're about, we'll be $5-6 million ahead of projected revenues for this year. You can see the household income. Now, this is good for realtors as well. 2008, we really didn't know, we weren't targeting the right people. So when you go through a brand evaluation, you learn that the assets that you have to know who you want to target. So if I'm selling a Bentley, I'm sure not going to target somebody that can only afford a Toyota, right? So look at the growth there. So we went from an 89,000 household income to $121. Can they afford to buy real estate in this region? Absolutely. Now, why did we go down to 111? A lot of organic traffic that came in. People that saved money during COVID that can now afford to come in, came in that have that lower household income. And like Virginia mentioned it, the international market's been cold and they have the highest household income coming into here. So that 111 will rebound back to 121. Digitally, we're actually going after a household income of 125,000 and higher, okay? That kind of just shows how important diversification is. The 80% makes sense to all of you. First and foremost, they come here to vacation. Second, sports segment. We're blessed to have one of the strongest sports segment in the state of Florida because of our assets. Nathan Benderson Park, premier sports campus. That little place called IMG Academy, 600 acres and growing. The void is the group corporate. And with that, in little old Palmetto, in our offices in the convention center, we're getting a 252 full service 8-story Sheraton that'll overlook the river. The Board of County Commissioners have already approved $16 million out of the gate to expand that convention center, where you'll go from your hotel into the convention center without ever going outside. So it's all under air. And that'll give us a 90,000 square foot convention center hotel, convention center footprint that you won't find from St. Petersburg to Naples. So we'll kind of stand alone and be able to bring small conferences in, association conferences that'll augment gaps in the year. Premier Sports Campus, there it is, 50 million in economic impact. We're going to diversify that. We're actually building a permanent framed air-conditioned wood floor tent that'll be a net 6,500 that we'll be able to use for chamber banquets, realtor events, wedding receptions, just to kind of get another revenue source. And of course, the sports promoters want to use it as well. Like Virginia, we partner with the EDC, and we ran a work where you play pilot program. We invite them to certain missions when we're on the road, if they have prospects in those markets, and then we meet on a monthly basis. I actually meet with them Monday. So we ran this pilot program, and it was April 1 to May 31st. Now we targeted we pointed in a different demographic than the visitor, because we figured that the person who's working from home is going to be younger, lower household income, and we targeted Chicago and New York. And there's the impressions of that 3.1 million impressions, 8,700 click-through rate onto a landing page. There's the cost of the buys. It was a really successful initiative. We also ran Facebook and Instagram ads, because that demographic is more likely going to play around with Instagram. There's the impressions on that. It was really, really successful. And then we keep a landing page on there as well, the Live Where You Play landing page. There's the campaign websites. It should have been double that. Our staff programmed it wrong, where they were sending people for the first 3 weeks to our main homepage of our website. So that should have actually been double. You live and learn. There's our future. Look how the area weathered COVID, to be only down 5.7% during COVID. Diversification, strong brand. Obviously, the pent-up demand with the 56%. Now, if you take out 2019, 2020, that minus 11 for 21, 22 would be about plus 15%. And then you're going to see, we're pretty conservative, but I think they echo the state projections a little bit as well. And that's all I have. I'll close at this. Look at, if I'm a realtor, and actually I have a real estate license, look at the Raleigh-Durham Cary region. And if you study that, that'll weather economic fluctuation better than most in the country. So consider Raleigh-Durham Cary as Sarasota-Bradenton Lakewood Ranch with a beach. And you put them together, it's powerful. Thank you very much.
Do I open up the questions?
Mark.
You said right now Sarasota has 50, I guess, cities that they.
50 nonstop destinations.
Okay, 50 nonstop. What is the projection? Are you, since you have so many numbers, what's the goal, I guess, and the projection for like the next 2 to 5 years?
All right. So our CEO, Rick Piccolo, his goal is to have as many destinations as we can. He tells me, hit the road. I travel almost every 2 weeks. I'm meeting with an airline at their headquarters. I'll be out in Vegas next week, meeting with Allegiant. They're headquartered in Las Vegas. Right now, we have 10 airlines. There's only a few. If you look at the airlines that dominate domestically the United States, we have, or I'm not United States, Florida. We have every carrier except Spirit Airlines. So I'm talking with Spirit. They've indicated they want to come into our airport sometime in the next year or two. Every carrier has their own strategy of what they like to do. Spirit is typically will go into a market, unlike Allegiant going to these smaller airports. Spirit will come in and they'll hit larger airports like Detroit, Chicago, places like that, and they'll take over routes that are already being served by what we call legacy carriers, like your Delta, American, United, but they'll undercut the price. So if they come into our airport, I think we have room to accept, take them, and I think there's a place for them to operate our airports. So Spirit's the only one we're missing. There's some startup carriers that you've probably heard about that are out there called Breeze Airlines, which was just started by David Nealman, who started JetBlue and Azul and some others. And there's another one called Avelo that is started up by Andrew Levy, who was the president of Allegiant. There's a number of Canadian carriers that we're looking at trying to get into our airport. And we continue to look at some of the international flights. Now that's a lot more difficult. We do have a full service customs facility that can clear a wide body aircraft. It'll clear 300 passengers per hour. We've got a jet bridge, parking space to handle a wide body because it needs extra air conditioning, ground power unit, all stuff like that. But I travel. I'll be traveling in Braden area CDB and over to London next month. And we will be meeting with, I've got 7 different airlines that we've targeted. But typically they're the smaller charter type airlines that you may have heard, like Condor, Jet2, some of these carriers that aren't, they're not like British Airways or any of those, although we're meeting with British Airways. But for our market, it's going to be one of these niche airlines that comes in and does like once, twice a weekly service or seasonal only. But there is a market. We know that internationally, our #1 market for our airports, obviously Canada. #2 is UK, and #3 is Germany. And we target those because that's what the visitor data shows who is visiting our area. We know who's visiting, we know who to target, and that's where I work. And we also travel and visit Sarasota County as well to these type conferences to target. So that was a long answer. It was more than
Yeah, just real quick. You know, the network planners pretty much know what will work and what won't work. They look like they're 15 years old. They're absolutely brilliant. They do more due diligence than NASA. But where we separate ourselves is the big airports, they spend all their money to renovate, and then 30 years later, in a 30-year period, they don't have money to maintain it. So come on, we all know it. Sarasota-Bradenton International is a country club looking airport. They keep it maintained with the best incentives that you'll find in the country. That's powerful. That's what wows the carriers that want to do business here, because they're diversified, owning land, and they have other revenue sources that most airports don't have.
If I could ask a question of Mark, because I don't think you brought it up, and that is describe the massive debt of your airport compared to Tampa.
Yeah, so we're one of the few airports in the country that's debt free. We built our built our in 1989, we paid it off in 2014, and we do a pay as you go program now. So we spent the first 3 years, 2015 through 2018, completely remodeling our airport. If any of you have gone through it, you'll see it's all brand new flooring, terrazzo, lighting, ceiling, HVAC. Every finish has been replaced. So we spent 3 years doing that pay as you go. And then now we're in great. We received $50 million of CARES Act funds. So we have all that money in our reserves right now. We typically, most airports carry 1 year's operating expenses in reserves. So our operating expense was $17 million a year. That's what we kept in reserves. Right now we have $50 million in reserves. And we're earning so much money from parking revenue. I was just telling Elliot, Virginia, I got a text this morning, 7 a.m., long-term lots closed, it's full. We are in our slowest month of the year. September is the month that carriers stop flying. Allegiant actually grounds airplanes in September nationwide because they have a program where they don't lease, they actually pay for their aircraft cash. They ground them, they ground the crews, tell everybody they got to take your vacation in September. So about a third of our flights aren't even flying in September for Allegiant. Nationwide, and it's not just our airport, it's a nationwide thing. As kids go back to school, people aren't going anywhere in September. It's the slowdown month. It's changing. It's definitely busy, but that is the debt issue.
Hey, Mark, who uses the custom facilities?
So we have a lot of international flights. They're just not the ones that we fly on. They're not scheduled air carrier service. We do about 2 a day. We do about somewhere between 550, 600 international flights a year. And these are aircraft that hold up to 12 people on board. They're private jets, people that fly in, clear through our customs facility, and that's where that's who uses it. Now, if for Canadian flights, the big planes, they mostly pre-clear in Canada. People go through U.S. Customs in Canada before they ever leave Canada. But there are some airports that don't have customs pre-clearance. So we're targeting some carriers that fly, for instance, Porter Airlines that used to go nonstop from downtown Billy Bishop Airport in Toronto to Melbourne, Florida. We target carriers like that. If they want to come in, we will clear their passengers through our customs facilities. But there's other smaller airports in Canada that we would target as well.
The good news is that customs facility is big enough to clear a wide body when we get it. Not an if, it'll be a when. We're going to get it.
I want to thank you for your focus on corporations and business and economy. Thank you. And Virginia, I love you for doing the Bay Park Conservancy.
You've been so amazing for it.
Anyway, my question is, I bet you know this off the top of your head. What are the most traveled months? You said September is the least traveled, but can you do it January through December?
And either CVB can answer this because it correlates directly with their peak months with visitors.
Yeah, so it's generally for us, March. Sometimes Easter makes a difference. March, February, April, July, January, May, June. Well, we might see, and it depends, November, December, and then the two slowest are August and September.
Yeah, I mean, probably like Virginia on Siesta Key, I'm a wanted man on Anna Maria Island come February 15th to Easter.
Yeah.
If they can hang my head on a palm tree, they do it in a heartbeat. That's why the less is more theory is good. Same thing, there's a lot of seasonality, but the water's flowing February, March, April. Keep in mind too, when we say slow August, September, if there's no adversarial occurrence, that's when the Brits and the Germans are coming in pretty good. So it's a tail off, but it's not like the panhandle where the season's over.
How about corporate travel during that time? Do you have any clue?
Well, from a conference standpoint, the good news is they're not likely to do a conference during the peak leisure season.
Right.
So we'll be targeting, late spring throughout the summer and into the fall. That's where you augment. It's going to be really, really important to feed the urban core with new dollars as it continues to redevelop.
My question goes to some of the Latin American countries, which are also, of course, big focus buyers in the state. Have we had any luck bringing in Latin American airlines, Colombia, Argentina, et cetera? Brazil?
Not at our airport. We have great service to the north of us with Copa out of Tampa to Panama. It would be, we've looked at trying to get service to the Latin American area, and we're just better off getting, we have nonstop service to Dallas, so people can connect to get to that location. And that's probably what, for our size airport, that's probably the way that's going to continue for a while. There's some unique things that in our community that help make it a little more attractive, like the IMG Academy and the number of people that come through there. As far as business travel, like kind of going back to the corporate business travelers, we have a long ways to go. At our airport, it's a pretty massive drop off in business travel, and you know that from talking to the airlines because they track their frequent flyers and the frequent flyer travel. And also what we may see in the future is as business travel comes back, you may see a shifting of some of these flights at our airport back into those business markets. Not all of them. I think most of what we have is here to stay, but there will be some shifting back of aircraft because right now the business travel is not anywhere close to where it was before. It's going to take time. It's going to probably take years, a few years to get back.
And I think what this last year has shown businesses is there's multiple ways of doing business. But I think NPI, which is one of the largest groups that represents group travel and conferences, about 96% of them see that it will slightly grow in the coming year. And what they're really and this is good news for us, what they're really looking for is you have to have a reason now to meet in person. But what you get when you meet in person is you build trust, you allow for collaborations and creativity that you're just not going to do when there's 300 people on a Zoom conference. Because that trust and collaboration comes in the walkway between the new convention center and the hotel. It's standing outside, in back of the Hyatt while you're, catching some fresh air. So I think we'll see it come back, but as Mark said, it's going to be a different form. The other challenge right now in bringing meetings back is the insane costs. If you've tried to set up an event with catering, you know what I'm talking about. The hotel room prices are more expensive, the AV, the food. So again, that's a hindrance on bringing that back all the way.
And that's why you don't want during peak season. The meetings market's really not projected to come back 23, which I was glad the hotel project in Palmetto was delayed. It was a blessing in disguise. But just to go back to the Brazil, Latin America, we may have slightly different philosophies. We don't target Latin America. ING is probably our only partner there. We hope that Miami, SRQ, American Airlines restarts. That'll bring in that, but we don't have the characteristics that appeal to the Brazilians. Now, and I'll say this too, when people say, oh, target Brazil. Well, you know what? If it was interesting, it's like buying stocks. It's like I would have to shift from the UK or Central Europe to start that new market. Our budgets are flat. So, and that would erode our revenue. So you got to pick your poison. So we're going to stay the course, and it's worked really, really well. Tampa, they want big attractions, nightlife. They want to drink on the beaches, and the shopping is what appeals. And we got the shopping, but at least the Bradenton area, nothing else.
Thank you all for being here. This is amazing information. I actually have two questions. One for Mark about, again, there's a worker shortage here in probably most of the country. Is that affecting them getting pilots to fly or airport staff, and could that affect our airport?
Well, not so much on the pilot end, because there's less aircraft flying right now than there was before. So there's plenty of pilots. Where we're seeing the shortages definitely over the last 12 months has been your cleaning people, well, just everybody that's a labor force at our airport. Our checkpoint is so low right now. We're at like a third of what we really should be. And we're very concerned about that. Getting cleaners to come in and stay, food service, it's very, very difficult. Now we've seen it get a little bit better in the last probably 3 or 4 weeks, but it was really bad. Like there's some of our restaurant facilities, and it's not just us, because when I travel, like I was saying, I'm not gone every 2 weeks traveling. When I go through Atlanta Airport, half the shops have the gates pulled down. Yeah. And it's because they don't have people to operate them. And every single restaurant in Atlanta has a line that's about 30, 35 minutes long. So pack a lunch, honestly. Pack a lunch if you're flying. And it's a nationwide labor shortage. It really is. And I'm hopeful it'll get back to where it was, but some carriers are very creative in how they address this. If you look at like how Legion operates, they base aircraft at our airport, which is great. That means people that fly those planes, and the flight attendants and the maintenance people that are based at our airport. There's over 100 people with Legion based at our airport. They start their day at our airport. They end their day every day at our airport. They don't overnight cruise anywhere else. So it's an attractive way to to get pilots and crew members to work, because they know if they're going to be based at our airport, they're going to buy a home in our area, they're going to be able to fly out in the morning, and they'll be home that night. Maybe late, maybe 11:30 at night before they land. But that's what you see a lot of these carriers doing. They're looking at basing aircraft. I just talked to Sun Country Airlines last week. I was up in Minneapolis meeting at their headquarters, and they're going to start trying to base aircraft for the first time ever in Fort Myers this season. And they're going to fly to 4 additional destinations beyond Minneapolis. And they said if it goes well, they're going to look at doing the same thing at our airport next year. So that's one of the ways. I think everybody has to be really creative in how you get staff, because it's not just pay, but it's the lifestyle of how you're having to work. But,
and I just wanted to ask you if any of your organizations have internship opportunities for those of us who know high school students and college students.
Absolutely. We welcome interns. We always do at least one paid summer internship. But we welcome that experience, and it's great to see so many. We have 3 of our staff people are former interns of ours. And we know we have a couple of them who work for some of the big marketing vendors in the area. So we like to give them a great experience. We prefer college age.
Yeah, we're both on the USF Hospitality Advisory Board, so it's important to us. As part of the expansion, we're looking to build a demo kitchen to have USF hospitality students in the classroom, training at the hotel, the convention center all the time. We currently have a USF marketing intern, and we just offered a UF PR intern, Dr. Joe Asprin's daughter, an internship for next summer. So if we can keep 1 year on, because 1 out of probably 5 or 10, you don't want to let go and they convert into full-time people.
Want to ask if any of our Zoom participants want to ask a question, you can either type it in and Tiffany will state it, or we can put you on open mic. Any other questions from the field?
Elliot.
I'm Elliot. I'm the better looking guy.
Yes. So could you elaborate a little bit about how you're kind of reverse engineering, like, and then using the data from which to spend the money? And are you actually, is Lakewood Ranch, you didn't mention Lakewood Ranch at all, is that somebody else handles that?
No, Lakewood Ranch is part in Manatee County and part in Sarasota County. Really, the value in Lakewood Ranch, and I meet with the developers from time to time to try to say, hey, you know, what can we how can we partner with you to build more assets that appeal to visitors? Of course, Premier Sports Campus is right in our wheelhouse there. The golfing is the other really intriguing component to that. So I think it's number 2 in the fastest growing master plan development in the country. Keep in mind, realtors, it's only 45% built out. So when people come here, they think it's almost finished. It's going to be the center of town in about 20 years. Okay. The evaluations too, a lot of it is historic. We both have research firms. Ours has been on contract with us since 2004. So they can really tell us what markets are right, what markets of opportunity there are. Texas, nonstop flights, was always a market of opportunity because of the beaches in Texas. So we're competing against California, and the trigger was always, as soon as we get that nonstop flight, you know, Dallas nonstop, Houston nonstop, then we can blitz those markets. And we got more than we can handle because now Austin, Texas has surfaced as well. And now that is, we're pumping business into that. So if it keeps growing and we can continue to put some digital equity augmented by some PR and social media, then it's great. Because if you have a hurricane that goes through New York, our largest market, and shuts that market down, now you have arteries of domestic business coming in from states like Texas or the Midwest. So you got to look at it from, you don't put all your eggs in one geographic location if you don't have to. Spread it out so you can weather those adversarial occurrences.
Anything go on? I have a question with regards to people and work opportunities, and I know that you guys are starting to focus with that. I'm incoming chair of the Sarasota EDC as well, but I really think there's an opportunity with as robust a kind of understanding of the people coming in the market, figuring out a way to get them information about the jobs that are available here. Each of our, every employee we have, and you need 2 things to move. You need to like the space, and you need to be able to pay for your continued existence in that location. And I think that folks don't realize how many opportunities there are for meaningful careers, whether they're in the insurance industry and I think we picked a couple target ones, but there's so many jobs that I feel like we need to showcase for visitors that know that they could come back and be employed. How can we better partner in those areas?
I think we're trying to explore our teams meet, as Elliot does on his side, with the EDC, the staffs on a regular basis, and brainstorm some of these ideas. So we came up with, for instance, if it's an area, a meeting from a cluster group that has a potential for us, say it's specialty medical device, and that's an area where we know we have a workforce that could help a company in that area, they're eligible for extra incentives from us to have their meeting here. And I think the other project that we're both working from different angles is storytelling through videos. So who are some of the people who have moved here, who have found successful careers? I mean, some of it is at the CEO level, but then exactly as you're talking about, some of the people who have come here and found great jobs. And it's not always, so we're mixing it up. Before, I think we always tended to show the CEO, which is important, and that means a lot to certain audiences, but I think, you know, making people understand that there are a great variety of jobs and what a fun, we really want to put the fun into the idea of working here. Because it is.
Yeah, and you
Every
know,
now and then.
as you become chair, right now you know enough to be dangerous. Most EDCs are skeleton crews, so they only have so much bandwidth. We're pretty lean, only so much bandwidth. I'll be candid with you. I think the chambers play a role. The Lakewood Ranch business line could play a role. The Suncoast workforces definitely play a role. We have great relationships. We selfishly are focused on getting kids into the hospitality program, getting them hands-on in the hospitality industry and getting them to work. That's our lifeblood. Because if we can bring a first-time visitor to the region, they come back 94% of the time within a year. Who do we target? First-time visitors. So that second visit, you're right, then they become traditional visitors. Now they've drank the Kool-Aid. Now they want to say, honey, part-time home, full-time home. Let's move the business here. So that evolution is, when does that call to action hit about jobs?
The creating some kind of database where they know, hey, this is my industry I work in Chicago or New York or this, and then to see that there's 60, 100, 500 open positions in their industry that they could plug into. And I just think there's value in creating a database. And I think that it have to be done at a regional level, because the reality is that a job in Bradenton or Sarasota or Northport could be equally filled from people who live in any one of these locations. So it's really a regional issue.
Aside from the sunshine, what else is the appeal of living in Florida? We're not paying income tax, okay? And if I'm a realtor, I'm all over New York, Philadelphia, Washington, Baltimore, because, you know, the exodus is occurring. People are getting the hell out of there to want to live here.
Someday they're going to call this the Great Southern Migration.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Can we get a round of applause? Oh, wait, we have one more. We got a question from online. What will be the center of town in the future? Did he say Lakewood Ranch? That's from Jennifer.
No, I must say it's Welland Park.
Yeah, unconditional love for Virginia. I think we would both agree that State Road 70, Fruitville, I-75 geographic area will be the center of both counties in 15, 20 years.
So I think that question really depends on what you're defining town, and whether you're looking at it from the MSA standpoint. So if you look at the bi-county area, we are migrating slightly north. If you look at Sarasota County, we're going south, right? So the population center of Sarasota County continues moving south. Is projected in like 3 years to be basically right where the new hospital is. They did that on purpose, right? So there's a memorial with Laurel and I-75. That will be the population center of gravity for all of Sarasota County. However, if you look at it from the overarching MSA, it is moving slightly north, and a lot of that has to do with, you know, I think over 50% of the growth in Manatee County is north of the river. I think 80% of the total residences that are available to still be built out are north of the river.
Yeah, and of course, going kind of northeast Lakewood Ranch, the good news too is Manatee County has the water, potable water, which they put in the 1980s. They sell water to Hillsborough and some to Sarasota. And our Board of County Commissioners just approved $352 million in infrastructure for roads. Really, so when you see a Manatee County Commissioner thank them, that is so important. In Florida, we're ass backwards. We're building homes and then the roads are coming behind it, it should be roads, and then developer pay for the roads, and then they build the houses, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, talk to us about River Road. But,
Yeah. No kidding.
All right, well, again, round of applause for, thank you so much for your time. Thanks, everybody, for coming today. Thanks for those who were able to log in online. We appreciate your time. Hope that this has been a useful information set for you. And please look for that email with all of the detailed information that you'll be able to spend a little more time concentrating on.
You were late, I'll see you late, and I'll come up.
So